Good. Seeing some nods. Perfect. All right, so we will go ahead and get started. So as usual, we'll just start with a quick overview of who Paragus is for anybody who's not as familiar with us as a company. So first and foremost, we are an employee-owned company. We're located in Hadley, Massachusetts, and we serve customers throughout Massachusetts, Connecticut, and into even New Hampshire and Vermont. The kind of customer we work with tends to be small and medium-sized businesses, and we work with those customers to help supplement whatever IT they need. So for some cases, that means that we do everything, and in other cases, we're helping to round out what the team already has in place internally. Our core purpose, as we like to say, is this idea of making IT fun. And that's part of the goal behind these webinars, is really to look at how can we better leverage technology to make our lives easier, to make it more efficient, and to even inject some fun. And one of the things I really like about the product that we're going to be looking about today is training is not always the most exciting thing in the world. I think a lot of us kind of dread having to either do training, receive training, go through training, certainly manage and track it. And really what we're trying to do both with today, but just in a broader sense of it, is how do we make it so that it is easier and more accessible and more fun so that we enjoy technology and that we look at technology as a way to make our lives better and easier. Our company, for those of you who are not familiar, is broken into 4 key departments. And these are the 4 core services that we offer to our customers. We have an on-demand support, which is available 24/7, 365 to help customers with the IT issues that they're having right now. We have a department dedicated to providing security and compliance assistance so that organizations can stay secure and safe. We have a strategic planning department, which is focused on helping clients use technology to benefit their business and also create plans that help avoid surprises. And then the newest department that we unveiled earlier this year is our automation department, which is focused on leveraging technology to do things faster, smarter, and better. And that's a lot of what we're going to be looking at later today. And then underlining what we call the 4 pillars of IT is our products department, which helps our clients implement technology solutions and do so in a way that ensures that we remain on track, on budget, and on scope. All right, so with that, we're going to jump into the actual main topic at hand today. So I hopefully don't have to convince anybody on this call that training is really, really important to an organization. First, it can have a huge impact on performance. How effectively somebody is trained is going to dramatically impact how good they are at their job. And so it's really important that in a world where we really need everybody to be at their best, performing at a really high level, it's really critical that they have the right training necessary to be able to do that. Second, accuracy matters more than ever, as we're all trying to do more with less and we have more on our plates and there's so much going on and things are moving so quickly. It's very easy to have things slip through the cracks, and that accuracy can really be honed in through great training. Finally, or next, I should say, is satisfaction. And that satisfaction goes 2 ways. First, the satisfaction of whoever that person is serving, whether that be a customer or another employee. The more trained somebody is, the more effective they can serve them. And that's going to have a huge impact on their satisfaction. But I would say maybe even more important is the satisfaction of the person themselves. When somebody doesn't have the right amount of training, their job can feel that much more overwhelming or frustrating. It can take them a lot longer than it should. They can be making mistakes that they then get in trouble for or feel bad about. If you really want your employees to be happy and to enjoy their work, it's important that they have the tools and the training needed to be able to do that. And then finally, many organizations have compliancy requirements, either continuing ed or other forms of training requirements that say that employees need to have received this type of training, whether that be an HR training like a sexual harassment or equity and diversity training, or whether it be an IT training on things like cybersecurity or handling confidential information, or other types of professional training within the organization. It's very important that we're able to maintain those compliances, and training is a big piece of that. However, this is what the learning curve looks like for most employees as they go through their training journey, as we call it. There's lots of ups and downs, these kind of false starts where you think you got it, then you think you know nothing, and then you're starting over and you're trying to learn. And what you really want is a training program that keeps this in mind, that doesn't try to train an employee on everything they need to know day one, sit them down in a conference room for 2 hours or 2 weeks, tell them to read all these manuals and go off and do their job. I think a little bit like our higher education model, we've realized that that doesn't work as effectively as an ongoing continuous education program, where you can give somebody an introduction, then you can give them a little bit of a quiz or a test, then you can have them do a little bit of an exercise, and then you can provide additional training now that they have more context and understanding. I think that that's a critical part of thinking through how your organization is delivering training to your employees. What you don't want is your employees to feel like this. You don't want them to feel completely overwhelmed where there's maybe a lot of information available, but it's not in a way that's accessible to them, in a way that's helping them perform at their highest level. And so many organizations, for better or for worse, I would argue for worse, are still using training manuals, 3-ring binders and guides and documents, and asking employees to read through a lot of paper content and try to memorize facts. That tends to be an ineffective training model. And what you really want to do is figure out, how do we maximize the effectiveness of our training? If we're going to invest the time and resources, how do we make sure that we're doing it well? And whether that be in-person training, video training, interactive trainings, finding ways to make the training not only more effective, but also more enjoyable for the person who's receiving it. On a similar note, tracking is key. It's really important that at any given time, either your HR manager, your direct manager, somebody in the organization has a sense of who has received what training, whether that's tracking it from a compliance standpoint because you're doing something like ensuring somebody's continuing education, or whether it's just from a standpoint of, hey, we've rolled out this new product or software, and I need to know which of our employees has gone through the training program. Or I've got a brand new employee I've just hired, and I need to know where in their onboarding they are. Have they completed this amount of training? Are they halfway there? Are they 3/4 the way there? Have they not even touched it? Where are our employees at when it comes to our training? And many of us don't have much intelligence around this. The training is very disorganized, or it's ad hoc, and there isn't a really good system or dashboard or way for us to see where is any individual employee at in their professional development and training journey. And then the last thing I would say is it's actually pretty important that the knowledge is retained from trainings. And more importantly, that you have some way to know that. I can speak from firsthand experience that we've done lots and lots of trainings where you feel like, okay, we sat everybody down for an hour, we told them what we wanted them to know, now they must know it. When in fact, they have not retained as much as you thought they had. And then they go to do something and it's not exactly as expected, or sometimes very different than you expected. Even though you feel like you've checked that box and provided that training. And so one of the things that we're really looking at when we talk about kind of the next evolution of training and training programs are not only how do we track that it happened, but how do we measure that the knowledge was retained? And there's ways of doing that with interactive trainings, with quizzes, with tests, with different exercises that allow us to not only deliver content, but then deliver some mechanism that helps us measure and track the retention of that information, so that we can feel confident that the information has actually been received and internalized, or identify that additional training is necessary because something about the training did not actually resonate with the person we were trying to deliver it to. So kind of with all that context and background in mind, this is where an LMS comes into play. And for some people on this call, you may be very familiar with an LMS or a learning management system. For some people, this may be a brand new acronym that you've never encountered before. But a learning management system is really designed to help solve a lot of these problems that I just outlined. So at its core, LMS, or a learning management system, is a way to take courses or trainings that you have available and make them available through e-learning, through online education, and then enable you to track not only the delivery of that content, but also measure the retention of that content. And so when we started looking at LMS systems and the industry in general, we were looking for a product that would do two things. First, we wanted to be a product that we liked enough that we would use it internally. As you can imagine, like most businesses, we have a lot of training that we need to deliver to our staff, both from a customer service standpoint and a technology standpoint, and in our case, also a business standpoint, as we strive to teach our employees about employee ownership and all the financial matters and legal matters that go along with that. It's a lot of training that needs to be delivered. And for a growing company with lots of employees coming and going, that's a huge lift. And we needed a better way to track and manage that ourselves. As we went through that journey to find our product, we also wanted to find a product that we liked enough that we could even share it with our customers. And that's what really brings us to today. The vendor that we selected, their product is called LMS365, and the company is eLearning Force. And this is a company that has really risen to the top of the pile in terms of LMS platforms for a few reasons. One, their focus is really on the professional space. They're much more of a small business and business product as opposed to a higher education product. And a lot of the LMS systems out there were really delivered or designed for a higher education model, whereas LMS 365 is so well designed for small businesses and medium and large businesses. Furthermore, one of the things that we really love about it is how integrated it is within the Microsoft 365 platform. In fact, the name itself even implies that integration. And for those of us who have really gone down deep into the 365 journey and are leveraging tools like Teams and SharePoint and OneDrive, the more we can centralize things into that platform, the more efficiency and automation we can create. The easier it is for our staff because we're not introducing them to lots and lots of new technology. So beyond that, it also allows us to deliver the content kind of anywhere that we need to be able to deliver it. It can be online, it can be a classroom, it can be a webinar, it can be blended. We can get it from our cell phones, from our tablet, from our laptop, from the internet over a web connection. It's really designed to kind of meet our employees where they are, provide the training in a way that's easy for them to maintain, and then allow us to track it in a way that gives us the intelligence that we need. All right, and with that, I am going to introduce Ping Lee, who's going to take it from here. And Ping is a sales representative and Paragus's kind of go-to person for our relationship with LMS 365, and I'm very excited to have her here today. So without further ado, Ping, take it away.
Yeah, absolutely, Delcy. Thanks so much for the introduction. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I'm sure everyone's across the board in the US. And as Delcy mentioned, there's just tough times as far as making sure everyone is understanding the information within your organization. What better way to do it than within your already familiar environment, such as Microsoft 365. And with our solution, we're actually the only Microsoft recommended platform that's built natively into it. So how your learners are accessing their training, it's already going to be familiar with them. So the single sign-on access through Microsoft 365, there's no need to maintain new credentials. So when they access, for example, their SharePoint environment, you guys can design it, the look and feel that you guys have as far as branding and navigations. Another way that learners can access it is through Teams, right? All this collaboration, this social aspect, peer-to-peer collaboration, sharing files and chats. Another way is through our mobile app, and it is available for your iOS as well as Android devices. And if you did use Teams, you can actually leverage the Teams app for learners to access their training. So just back to how the solution integrates fully in your already existing infrastructure. Whether you're new to LMSs or currently use an application, you might even ask yourself, where would you want to live? So with that, all your employees will be logging on through Microsoft 365 versus maintaining new credentials. And that could be a job in itself. They'll be very familiar with the user interface, and IT knows it versus having to learn and IT might not support. And it grows as your organization grows, right? So understood, maybe it's for a subset of users, maybe a target business unit, but maybe it does expand to all users in your organizations. And back to what Delcy was mentioning, maybe not just from a compliance standpoint, maybe it's soft skills or upskilling them, right? And keeping them up to speed on all the training that they're hoping to do. And as far as deployment goes, we can talk more about implementation, but just to let you know, it's a simple add-on right on top of the Microsoft ecosystem. I would say it takes 45 minutes, hour tops just to get the app installed. And we would take care of you as far as showing you all the ins and outs. Today's demonstration, I'll show you some of the learners' experience. the manager experience, as well as the admin side of house. And just in comparison with third-party vendors, since you're always relying on them for their support and configuration, that's why there's a depiction of a piggy bank over here. So, so I think that was the last slide, right? And let me switch gears, and Delcy, I'm gonna borrow the screen sharing. Yep, demo time. So
please do, go ahead.
Let me go ahead and grab that from you. And I will start with the look and feel from Teams. And give me 1 second over here. So within Teams, this probably looks very familiar. Just recap, like within Teams, you'll have the LMS icon for them to access it. But within Teams, perhaps you have a team and channels you want to break things down to, where you're sharing information through your posts, through files. And here we are with the LMS, we actually have a learning dashboard that each learner would see all the trainings that they've been assigned to or they registered for, and it would be a one-click access to go directly to the course. I will expand this little hamburger so you can see all its naming conventions. You can also deliver certifications where there's validity period. The learner could download a hard copy or go directly to the course from here. As part of our enterprise subscriptions, we have this another layer where you can manage competencies. And perhaps this is an initiative that HR is hoping to do, where if you have a course, they will gain a skill set, right? So upon completing this, I will gain this competency. And you as the administrator would absolutely be able to search who has what skills and maybe adding them to a project. I'm just going to continue down the list over here. Under transcripts, learners can see their status of courses and push it out to a PDF if they like. You can manage points. We call it continued education units. Feel free to change that label. Perhaps credits or hours makes more sense. And this is a fun way to show in a gamification perspective as far as a leaderboard, who your top learners are. Just like the Olympics, we have the gold, the silver, the bronze medalists, and then the next 7 below. It looks like I didn't quite make the cut. And here we are, because we sit right on top of your Microsoft 365 deployment. In Azure Active Directory, there is a field called Line Managers. So if you are a line manager, you would automatically see your direct reports, some stats of how they're doing. You can even drill down further to download their transcripts or view their progress this way. So there's overarching statistics of what they completed, what they hadn't started yet. You can push it out to an Excel file if you like. So that's kind of it from the dashboard perspective. There is a nice overview as well if you wanted to see more in a graphical representations for all their learners' progress, and then also your training status as well. The next thing as a learner you may want to do is search and peruse your course catalog. Anything that was published makes it super easy for the learners to do by keyword search. You can filterable by your categories or even subcategories. And as Delcy mentioned, we support all types of training, whether it's e-learning, classroom, webinar type trainings. And we also have one called training plans, which gives you the ability to stitch your courses together to make a curriculum. Since you guys are on Microsoft 365, I just wanted to filter on the products. We actually have a variety of adoption type courses that we'd add automatically into your course catalog. So right now, let me just optimize this. There's 21 different courses, and you can see that topics such as how to create a survey using forms or a planner, some office basics, Teams training. I'll click on that one since this is very popular just due to how everyone's working from home nowadays. So within a course, there are topics, we call them the learning modules. There's concepts of bookmarking as well. So I can resume progress of where I left off. It is a mix of video as well as text over here. And this was all created by Microsoft. And if there's new courses available, obviously with your permission, we would go ahead and redeploy these courses into your course catalog. And you can see the various topics of how I start a chat and a call or upload and find my files. I will put on a different scenario, and we've all been here before from an onboarding perspective. leveraging the LMS to deliver all the training that they need to get up to speed on. In this case, we actually used channels to pinpoint not only sharing information in the posts and files, but we point them directly to a course itself. So here's a lovely description. There is 2 activities for this course, and there is concept of prerequisites. So at the tail end, we did put a survey, and fair enough, I do need to complete this in order. So let's start this. So when I hit start, you can inject, I guess, some instructions, right? Some guidance over here. And in this case, I hit the start button. And this is just to highlight, we actually don't force you to use a specific standard. In this case, is a video on YouTube. I can max full screen. I will advance just for time purposes. You can throw in a presentation as well, where I can click on through, read all about it. I'm going to advance once more. Over here's a Word document. So again, you don't need to download anything. It's all within Teams. But you saw I wasn't paying attention, right? How do I make sure my learners don't do the same? So what we have is kind of confirmation message. Maybe there's a policy or procedures that you want people to confirm they've done so. So you can put your terms. Did you read that? Did you understand it? Basically, by me checking this box, it's also adding another layer where it's requesting me to enter my Microsoft 365 password. And now I can advance to the next one. Oops, I think I minimized it. Sorry about that. Now I can move on. Oops, I think I clicked way too fast. There we go. Now I can move forward. Another thing you could do is test them out. We do have a robust quizzing engine with 9 different question types. Here's just an example of a handful. This is a hotspot technology type question where I use my mouse and click accordingly. You can do multiple answer as well. And you see there's feedbacks, right? Great job. And then there's negative feedback as well. So it's not to make them feel worse. It's just to reiterate the lessons that were taught. Here's a matching type question. And it was randomized. It was just so happened it was next to each other. And then you can push things in order, right? Kind of shuffling. And then I would submit my results. And the administrator identified what is considered passing. I can see my score, give them more than 1 try, review my responses, but I'm pretty satisfied. Now that it's my first learning module is completed, again, it's guiding me through all the elements over here. Here's a survey, and we're just using forms over here for this, okay? So I will pause here. That's kind of all I wanted to highlight from an end user's experience. And Delcy, you mentioned that we're saving questions to the end. Should I give a pause over here for any questions?
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. While we're in this kind of section, is there any questions about the end user experience from anybody on the call?
Yes, hi, this is Wayne.
Wayne?
Sure, I'll ask some things you already covered, but you went pretty fast, so I maybe didn't understand entirely what you were saying. So I understand you have a bunch of what I'll call canned content from some other providers like Microsoft and maybe some others, I don't know. If it's not the canned content, then who actually creates the content? The end facility or Paragus or you? Or a combination of those?
Sure, that's a great question. So content could be a variety of items, right? So typically organizations already have something that's kind of like internal, something that no one else knows about, right? So essentially you guys are the subject matter experts. And the idea when I was in the onboarding course was to highlight that you can continue to use your presentations, your Word documents, a video, or usually organizations seek courseware providers, and they vary, right? Just depending on your industry, what vertical you are. We do have a relationship with a vendor. They're called GoOne. Not sure if you heard of them, and we can always go into a deeper dive as far as getting the right material for your audience, right? So just high level, this organization that we partner with, it would be 2 separate paperwork, but they would assign a customer success manager to work with you. There's over 200 different vendors and various topics, all the way from compliance to leadership training to diversity and inclusion training, HR courses. So there's like 76,000 courses and growing. So you're not limited to just one genre. So hopefully that answers your question, Wayne.
So you're saying we could pick and choose some of those things if we felt they were appropriate?
Absolutely. So essentially, the customer success manager from Go1 would help content curate, work with you. So again, saving your time as far as finding the best of breed, what you prefer as far as the type of content your learners are very used to, whether it's video-based, micro-learning. And then the engagement from LMS365 is we would automatically bulk import that into the LMS and create the corresponding course, so it shows up in your course catalog.
Yep. So again, yeah, I know you're getting through things fast, but I didn't see anything like a basic coursework for employees on cybersecurity. So I don't know if you have one there or if Paragus is planning to create one for its partners. Delcy or Ping, any comments?
Yeah, so I think to kind of your point, Wayne, there's a lot of, or to Ping's point, there's a lot of places content can come from. So certainly Paragus does have its own content, and we will be looking at rolling some of this out to customers who are using this product, who want a certain type of content that we've developed. Cybersecurity is probably a terrific example of that. Another example might be if we were doing a project with a customer, and let's say we are rolling out MFA for the first time, we may publish a course to the LMS about how to use MFA and ask you to have all your employees take that course. The other thing would be the content coming from these third-party providers. For example, Go1 is a great provider. They have tons of content, and a lot of it is really, really well designed. And then the third category would be your own content. And I think, let's say you have an employee handbook, you have a PowerPoint, you have some stuff, but what you need is the help turning it into a course. That is another area that we can come in and help. So we can help you curate, okay, here are the things I want, but I need to turn that into an actual course that we upload and put in for new employees that we're onboarding. So any of those are sources. And then if you were super creative and wanted to write content that you don't have now, and you're like, look, I have manually done this training 100 times. I've sat down with people across the table and I've done this training, but I want to find a way to record that and turn it into a video or turn it into a document or make a PowerPoint. We certainly would be happy to help you with that. To Ping's point, we won't have the subject matter knowledge. We'll rely on you for that. But if you just need the help facilitating the translation of that knowledge into a course, we can certainly help you there.
Okay, and for the canned Microsoft things, do we have to include all of those, or can we only include the ones that are germane to our organization?
Yeah, great question. So we would add these into your course catalog, and then that allows you to go to the back end administration side of house, and you can unpublish them.
Okay.
Yes.
And in any of these content providers, do you have things that provide, for lack of a better term, testing or evaluating skills for new employees in certain areas? Maybe it's Excel, maybe it's Word, maybe it's Outlook, whatever it is, the standard type software. Is that something that's available through this system?
Right. So you see that these topics are mainly the adoption courses within Microsoft 365. There aren't any quizzes in here. So it's not something that, it's basically just to upskill them over here, but not to test them out. If you wanted to create a quiz, I can show you that in the backend administration side, how to add a question or several questions to make sure they understood lessons that were taught.
Yeah, I think what Wayne's even referring to is almost like an evaluation to determine somebody's competency to maybe identify what training may be appropriate. And I think, Wayne, that would be something that we could help look into to see, is there a course provider out there where we could get that course and import it into the LMS? And that's what's nice about this system, is it's a platform that we can then go get content and bring it in. So we would just need to help identify some content, make sure it works for your organization, see if it's what you're looking for, and then we could incorporate that in. And then maybe based on the score or the result of that, you would then know which trainings to prescribe them, or even just have a better sense of benchmarking where that employee is at.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what I was talking about. Thank you, Delcy. And I guess my last question is something you'll probably be addressing a little later, which is what are the costs?
I have a question. Does somebody have to have an Office 365 account in order to be able to use this? My question is, could I use it for production employees who do not have that?
Yep, great question. And I'll take that one. So usually with, well, our tool is based on Microsoft 365. So it would definitely need to be someone within that ecosystem logging into your Azure Active Directory, but understood these are a production worker. So Microsoft has a subscription model for what they call frontline workers. So I believe they actually reduced the cost quite a bit. So I'm not sure if you would be able to connect with one of your Microsoft representatives to share more about what the frontline worker subscription option is.
Yeah, and I can speak to that a little bit. There are a lot of different Microsoft 365 licenses. So let's say that you have most of your office staff using a license that's costing you $20 or $30 a month. It doesn't mean that you'd have to get everybody a $20 or $30 a month license. They have licenses as low as $4 a month. So what we'd really just have to look at is which licenses you have in your organization and which licenses we would need to access what you want them to access. So for example, if you want them to take a class on Excel and you want them to be able to use Excel, then we have to make sure their license gives them access to Excel. If you only want to use content that you're providing and we just need them access to the portal, that might be a much, much less expensive license. So that's one of the things that we could help you look at is what would your Microsoft licensing requirements be? But to Ping's point, you will need some minimum level of 365 access to get in here.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, I think you're all excited, and the moment that you've been waiting for is more from administration, right? How to set everything up and how to structure everything. So with that, I know I'm in the Teams experience. This would give me an opportunity to highlight within SharePoint as well. So maybe you guys, maybe this looks very familiar. It is a communication site on SharePoint. So the idea is within your environment, you have your logo, your color schemas, your navigations. And for anything pertaining to training, you could highlight things by promoting links. You identify your images or any other resources. Maybe you want to add announcements or news, documentation on your page. So I will go to, first off, the dashboard that we were in as a learner, just to show you what that looks like within SharePoint. All the same information, whether they access it here or Teams. This is the course catalog in SharePoint. So let me show you as an administrator, you do have this little gear icon to go to the back end. So the first thing I want to show off is from a tracking reporting standpoint, right? So you see the left-hand navigations, every course, there's well, all the courses listed over here. If I clicked on the progress bar, I can see overarching statistics and how they're doing. Let me pick one that has actual some stats in here, maybe this guy over here. So there's some statistics over here. I can see all my users. You can also push it out to Excel. If I wanted to check it out by the flip side, by my learners, absolutely. I can click on the user, download the transcripts, or even view their progress this way. But it doesn't stop here as far as the tracking and reporting. You can also leverage reporting tools such as Power BI. It stands for Business Intelligence. So, and I'm just giving you an example, right? I'm just going to pull up what we did as far as connecting the LMS data to a Power BI report. You can see everything's all interactive, a little bit more engaging, and everything's real time. So for example, hey, I want to check out my learner status, where you can filter even further by job, by user, maybe a duration, a timeline, or oh my goodness, there's a bunch of red over here. Who are all the overdue individuals on this side? So a little different than the administration side over here, where you just click on the progress and see overarching stats, right?
And just to chime in a little bit on the Power BI side. So Power BI is it's a platform. It's a technology that allows you to build really cool interactive reports and dashboards like Ping just showed us. That platform is entirely customizable. So this is another area where we could work with you to help you identify what data do you want to show up on that dashboard? Who do you want to have access to the dashboard? What do you want to be interactive? What do you want the drill down menus to be? And we can help you design those dashboards in any way that you want them to look within kind of this amount of data that we have available to us, versus the canned reports that are already ready out of the box. You can click them and use them the day you sign up for the software. So that's kind of the difference between the Power BI report, which is infinitely flexible and customizable, compared to the kind of canned reports that Ping was showing us a moment ago.
Absolutely. So the sky's the limit. If you ever want to slice and dice, leverage Power BI for that. So I guess there's a few things that you probably want to check out is how are courses created. So when I'm at the course list, there's a little plus sign over here. You can deliver your e-learning classroom and webinar, and it is a simple form that you fill out. Anything with a red asterisk you need, such as a name, a description. You can define your categories, right? So over here you can pick, but when you add a category, all you do is type it out. It'll create a new one. So it'll be a part of your drop-down menu later on. There's a section for adding users. So you can have additional people to help co-author it together. If you know the audience is intended for, you can leverage your AD groups as well as Office 365 groups. And that way you can bulk enroll users to a particular course. And anyone that joins that group would automatically be enrolled. Course targeting is also available, and this allows you to pick on a user or a group. Therefore, this course is only visible in the catalog for those users. So if you want to segment it to a particular audience, like all customer service staff can see these courses, for everyone else, it's going to be hidden. If you wish to give them a due date to complete this by, you can leverage relative dates to say, hey, I need you to get this done within a week. There's also ability to deliver certificates of completion where you can manage, perhaps it is done on an annual basis where it does expire within 365 days, or no matter when this user took it, perhaps it's a policy that gets renewed on every calendar year. And then choose a lovely picture and then simply click create. So that's how the course site is created. The next thing I wanted to highlight is how to add your content. And I will pick on the course that we were in earlier, and this course management screen pops up. I wanted to show you how to leverage the learning module builder to stitch content together. And this is our example from earlier, right? So you saw that there was a video, a PowerPoint, a Word document. Now you're wondering, hey, Ping, how did you add that? So in this entire section, it allows you to embed your multimedia items that you found on YouTube, or you have videos on stream. Perhaps it's items that you store in your document library. You want to link directly to that source file. And you may already use SharePoint document library for versioning control, workflow approvals. So therefore it's going off of a, the master copy, and maybe it is repurposed in multiple courses. So add the title, add the link, simply insert. Maybe it's a website that you want to point them to. We have a quizzing engine, which I can show you if we have some time at the end, or if you want to add a survey. Here's that attestation where, hey, did you read that? Did you understand? You can have a simple checkbox or even have them authenticate. Alternatively, you can go ahead and create new documents and upload. And as you can see, it's as simple as dragging and dropping it over. You can always shuffle the order after the fact. I'm going to pause here. Any questions on the learning module builder and how I was able to add the content? Looks good, right? Pretty straightforward, I would say. I will fast forward to the bottom section over here called settings. I did want to highlight there are a variety of notifications that the system has out of the box. So you can decide to keep them on or turn them off. Notifications such as a certificate's about to expire, a friendly reminder that goes directly to the learner, notifies the line manager. They get emailed and it shows in Teams. So if I was to go to this template, it is injecting the variables. So it's going to say, dear Michelle, this course is about to expire with course information over here. You can customize this email template, maybe adding your logo or maybe choosing different wording. And here's the frequency of this notification. It will obviously stop if they got it done. So I'm just going to exit out of here. And just to highlight, there are a variety of notifications. Instead of sifting through it, it's all alphabetized. You can actually search and find all the ones that pertain to confirmation messages. Or, hey, I have webinar course. Let's see all the webinar type notifications, reminders available. Okay, so I will turn this back to, I guess, maybe Delcy, if you want, if there's any other specific use case scenarios that you wish for me to go over on this.
Yeah, why don't we leave your screen up for a moment? So before we kind of let Ping hand over the control back to me, are there any other questions about the product itself that you guys would like to ask or have her show us while she's got her screen share up? All right, then I think if you want to stop sharing your screen, or I'll take it back from you and we can just move to wrap up here. Perfect. And I will share mine again. Back to the dancing minions. All right. So hopefully, at least for some of you, we've started to kind of spark this question of this could be interesting, this could be helpful, this could save us some time, this could make life easier, this could create a better experience for our staff or for our HR department or for our managers or for some of you on this call. So if that's the case, then what we want to let you know is that if you would like to move forward and you're starting to wonder, where do I go from here? That is why we're here to help you out. So the next step in this process is we would schedule a one-on-one meeting to learn a little bit more about what you're looking to do, how many users you have, and what are some of the goals and expectations of your implementation. Based on that, we can then get you that quote. I think that goes a little bit to Wayne's question earlier. So we'll use that information to help figure out what your pricing model would be and what the right kind of implementation strategy would be for your business. Assuming that looks good to you and you decide you want to move forward, then as with anything else that we provide, our goal is really to be your Sherpa throughout the duration of the project. We'll help you curate the content. We can help introduce you to the content providers, especially the one that Ping was mentioning earlier. We can help you translate some of your own content into courses. We can even potentially provide you with some proprietary content of our own. We can also help to make sure that your employees are trained and understand how to access the training, how to get into it, that your managers know how to get to those reports. And as we talked about earlier, if you want to start building custom dashboards or custom alerting modules, you don't have to worry too much about figuring your way out through any of that stuff. Our team will be there to help kind of guide you through that process. And then finally, the ultimate end goal is to turn your employees from this guy into this guy. We want to make it so that the training is an exciting part of people's journey and that they feel like they've got the tools that they need to be able to do their jobs effectively, and that your team, especially your management and leadership team, has the tools they need to ensure that that's actually happening. All right, so with that, we've got about 14 minutes left. I'd be happy to open it up for any questions at all about the product, the process, anything that's on your mind. Michelle, I saw that it looked like you might have been trying to answer a question earlier. Did we answer that, or is there still something you had?
I wanted to ask about, we have a lot of volunteer trainings that we do and what the ability would be to push this out outside of the system, but it sounds like that's not really an option for this product.
I actually want to take that one. You can do it for external training as well. One recommendation would be to create a separate course catalog to assist with the volunteer staff. So that way you can keep it separate, all the internal versus, the volunteer, essentially external users. And yeah, with Microsoft, you can invite external users and you wouldn't need to license them for the Microsoft 365 instance. You would just need to ensure that the LMS license accommodates both user communities. So the total for internal plus volunteer. So whoever needs access to the LMS is how your subscription model would work. So you can support your volunteer staff is what the end result.
Great. I think that would appeal to a lot of people because we actually now have a volunteer doing volunteer training. And it would be great if we had it in-house and could provide it and have it consistent for everyone.
Exactly.
And what you may find is that access to invite outside participants, it might currently be disabled in your 365 tenant. So you may find that if you're trying to do that right now, it'll be grayed out or blocked, but that is a setting that can be changed. It's a security feature. So to Ping's point, you can go through, or we can go through and help identify what are the parts of the 365 tenant that we want to allow external users to access. So for example, the way that LMS 365 is designed is it's its own SharePoint site sitting within your 365 tenant. If we have a separate course catalog for that, and we can allocate the access to just that course catalog within just that tenant, we can do so fairly safely and securely. And that actually theoretically could even be a solution to the earlier question about kind of line level or production employees. You will lose some features. So for example, if you're doing it with your own existing Active Directory, and to Ping's point earlier, where you wanted to be able to push it out to everybody in a group, or to be able to do certain things. Obviously, if they're external users that we don't know about in advance, we don't know what their title is, their position, you won't have all the same functionality or features on the kind of pushing it outside, but certainly making the training available and then being able to track it and provide it, you could do.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions? Ping, do you know off the top of your head, the content that comes from that third-party provider, do you have a sense of what that content costs or how they price that content?
Yeah, they're very transparent. So there is a pricing model on the GoOne site, but obviously with our partnership, depending on your organization type, non-for-profits, they have a soft spot for you. Also, if there's a time frame, they might be some promotional offers depending on which month you close out. So it would be good to actually have an intro call with them, no more than a half hour, just to go into the various topics that you're looking for, so they can even search quickly in the course their catalog and show you all the different providers that they work with. And every time they do a search, it's like 200 different courses available on that particular topic. So you never fall short of material. So yeah, we can always go ahead.
We didn't spend a lot of time in the webinar talking about how the LMS would be used for training that's delivered in person. Can you speak a little bit to kind of what that relationship looks like if I am going to do a live training, but I want to leverage the LMS?
Yep, absolutely. Did you want me to do that via screen share? And
sure,
share?
Yeah. Why don't you go ahead and grab the screen?
Okay, give me a second here. So perfect. So I'm going to filter on, for example, yes, classroom webinars. Just imagine the form is the same. And I'm just going to filter on, for example, webinar type training. And what you would do is create a session. So there is this course management, manage course sessions. Here are a few of the sessions already created. And to create a new one, you click the plus sign, you define the start and end time. And then this is where you would drop the meeting URL in here, whether you use a Teams link, you like Zoom better, or GoToMeeting, whatever you prefer. You can add details such as max attendees. And that way you can actually identify a wait list, right? So anyone, let's say, hey, this can, I don't know, hold 30 people. The 31st person would be put on a wait list until someone drops out and they're added on. Should you want to add additional session information? Absolutely. There's two ways to mark someone's attendance for coming to the webinar, right? The more elegant solution is we do have an LMS mobile app that you can decide when your attendees can register their attendance by scanning a QR code. You probably have a big question mark above your head and say, how is a QR code being scanned if everyone's at home? You would make it a part of your presentation, and you can let your attendees know, hey, to get credit, let's use your mobile app to mark your attendance by scanning the QR code that's on your screen. Alternatively, you can even go into the course session itself. This is the more manual way. The list of users will show here, where you check this box and decide what kind of attendance, whether they were a no-show, absent but informed you, so they were polite about it, and decide, yes, they came to class. Okay.
Perfect. That was very helpful, Ping. Thank you.
You bet.
We probably have time for one or two more questions. Is there anything else that anybody would like to see about the product or learn more about? All right. Well, then with that, I will wrap up from here. As always, we do record these webinars and they get published to the events section of our website. So if there's somebody else in your organization that you want to watch this or you want to share it with somebody else, that link will be public probably by the end of the day today, if not early tomorrow. And feel free to share it with anyone you want. And then if you are interested in learning more, we would simply ask that you reach out to your account relationship manager if you are a client. And if you're not a client, then you can go to our website and click the chat now button or the schedule a meeting button, and we would be happy to speak with you. I want to thank you all again for coming, and I look forward to working with you on implementing a solution like this to help make your organization a lot more effective at delivering and tracking training. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much. Have a good one.
Thanks very much.